Right now, we are in a political war between the mega rich and everybody else. And the question is, if you're the mega rich, how are you going to control the many when you are few? What we're talking about doing is building a system that will allow you to be surveillance and tracked and turn your money on and off, or incentivize you or penalize you in a variety of ways with your money that can be integrated with your behavior. That is a coup d'etat. That is the end of human liberty in the West.
I recently interviewed Catherine Austin Fitz, a former investment banker, a public official, and the head of the Solari Report. We talked about everything from financial transparency to global technocracy to AI and how to exert your rights for personal sovereignty. It was an amazing conversation with simple solutions. Check it out. Catherine Austin Fitz, I respect your work so much. And I want to start with a question about the Internet of Bodies. I've heard you talk about this. I have heard of the Internet of Things, but can you go into what that means, the Internet of Bodies?
So I think we're all trying to figure it out, but it is clear that an effort is being made to literally hook up our bodies to get sensor type material into our bodies and hook us up, whether it be with wearables or surveillance devices or things literally that are injected into our bodies that basically make us part of the network. And that means that you are literally dealing with manipulation of your energetic body as well as your physical body.
This is blowing my mind right now because I understand that tech companies, and even Kennedy has said, like, it'd be great for Americans' health to have wearables. I'd love to see everyone wearing one. They make the case that this data helps us optimize our health. Why would you suggest that it's doing the opposite?
So far, what I've watched is the government and tech companies collect more and more data, and during that period, our health has deteriorated dramatically, including because of things like EMF radiation, which is related to how they collect the data. So I see absolutely very little correlation in general, in the general statistics between government having more and more invasive power vis-a-vis our body and our data and our health. It's gone the opposite way.
And I have heard that data is the new gold. In other words, that's really valuable to different companies so that some of these tech companies may be collecting this information and then dispersing it without our knowledge. But in what way is this going beyond that? You were suggesting earlier that it's possible that they might want to manipulate and control our behavior.
So I think my chief concern, if you look at what AI is good at, AI is very good at simulating anything that can be expressed mathematically. And of course, the thing we all know can be expressed mathematically are our financial transactions. And the reality is, if I can track you closely where you're going and what you're doing, and I can get you on programmable money, which can be turned on and off, then I can start to use AI and surveillance systems and algorithms to basically manage and control your behavior. So if I want you living in a 15-minute city, your money won't work beyond the 15 minutes unless you do what I say. So we have a wonderful woman who runs our team cash, and she says, what are you going to do when they show up and say, either you transgender your children or we're going to turn off your money? So what we're talking about doing is building a system that will allow you to be surveillance and tracked and turn your money on and off, or incentivize you or penalize you in a variety of ways with your money that can be integrated with your behavior. So once you add programmable, all this stuff looks great, and there are many wonderful applications in theory, but when you integrate it with a digital ID and programmable money, then you're talking about complete control. And let me tell you why that's a problem. If you look around the world today, we are watching many different divide and conquer tactics used to cover up the real problem. Right now, we are in a political war between the mega rich and everybody else. And the question is, if you're the mega rich, how are you going to control the many when you are few? The way you're going to do it was with programmable money, but programmable money doesn't click in and work well unless you've got everybody on the grid. You need to be able to track them. You need to be able to watch their behavior. You need to be able to influence their behavior. And then you've got complete control. And that is not just wearables. That is not just an internet of bodies. That is a coup d'etat. That is the end of human liberty in the West.
Yes. And so I haven't heard the term programmable money before. Are you talking about digital currency or something more?
I'm talking about well, it's not a currency.
Okay.
It's digital money that can be integrated with a social credit system.
Hmm.
So it says, if you didn't take your vaccine shot this month, we're going to turn off your money.
This sounds so dystopian, science fiction, like it just sounds so far out there. Where have you seen this kind of encroachment from tech companies and governments that give you the idea that we're headed in this direction, Catherine?
So we saw many of the online payment systems start to censor people. In the last 5 years, we saw the Canadian truckers have their money turned off. People who helped them and donated to them had their money turned off, and the people who were related to those people had, in some cases, we saw instances of having their money turned off. Oh, yes. We've seen credit cards that tried to take the position you can't buy certain kinds of products with our credit card. And we see legislation all across the country with state legislators saying, no, 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 credit card companies and online payment systems and banks can't debank or manipulate people for these reasons.
Hmm.
So we've been seeing a quiet push back and forth. But if you look at what's happening in the markets, the federal government, if you go to Solari, we have a wonderful collection called Fast Approaching Digital Control Grid, and the administration is pushing very hard to take us into a world where, first of all, the financial system is 100% digital, but then you can have programmable money. We just passed the Genius Act, which allows us to use stablecoins the way they were planning on using CBDC, and allows all the issue or requires all the issuers to be set up to integrate with a know your customer, money laundering, and other sets of data analytics that can then apply programmable money. Now, the important thing to understand, Hilda, is
Yeah.
in a programmable money system, I can run it very centrally, but I can use AI and algorithms so that I have a unique package for each person. So I can surveil you, I can track you, and I can keep changing your algorithms so that if you do what I want, you will have more resources and more freedom to use it. And if you don't do what I want, then you're going to get your resources cut back. And I can literally freeze and stop your transactions, which means if I don't want you eating pizza and I only want you eating lab-grown meat, you only eat lab-grown meat. If I don't want you going more than 15 minutes from your home, your money won't work more than 15 minutes from your home. If I don't want you being able, if I don't like what you're doing, I can turn off your electrical car. I can turn off your energy.
And for anyone who's like, oh, this is so far-fetched, think about how now there are shops where you can't use cash. Is that by design?
So a great deal has been done to discourage the use of cash. And of course, as you know at Solari, we do everything we can to encourage the use of cash. One of the reasons is you cannot go to a very successful system of programmable money unless you go to a 100% digital transaction system. And when I said they're not talking, what they're planning for programmable stablecoin is not a currency because a currency is free. It's free to transact. We're talking about something which is not free. If I have $1, I'm free to walk and transact with whomever I want, and nobody can see that transaction.
Mhm.
Now we're talking about a transaction that goes through a controlled digital grid and can be stopped, can be monitored, can be influenced in a variety of different ways. So I'll give you a perfect example.
Yes.
At one point during the last administration, there was a nominee for control of the currency, the chief banking regulator, who ultimately did not get confirmed. But when she was in her confirmation hearing, as it came out, she had written an article for the Vanderbilt Law Review, published 3 weeks before she was nominated. And in it, she said, the wonderful thing about central bank digital currency is if the Fed is worried about inflation, they can just freeze everybody's bank accounts.
She actually said that when she
Yeah,
was a nominee.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So what we're talking about, because I want you to understand what 100% digital financial system means. What it means is taxation without representation.
Mm,
Right now, we live in a system where the bankers run monetary policy, but the people's representatives determine fiscal policy. You're talking about creating money that, combined with AI and algorithms and software, can literally, the bankers can set all the fiscal policy rules and regulations and enforce them. So
mm.
they can enforce them centrally, and they can enforce a different system for you and for me. So 330 million Americans can all have a unique, individual, and dynamic set of rules. But what it means is if they want to raise your taxes, they just take it out of your account. You don't control your account. And what they will tell you is they don't even call the money in your account your money. It's their expression of central bank liability.
Whoa. Okay.
Right.
So I know Solari is doing a lot to have us become aware of this situation and to know how to fight back. Can you give us a couple of easy steps for folks who are watching this who are like, oh, yeah, okay, I don't want to be
Absolutely.
a part of that?
Use cash and use checks. Keep the system analog. And interestingly enough, we've had several of the central banks in Scandinavia come out recently and say, we've been watching what happens in disasters around the world. It's essential to have cash when that happens. You can't count on electricity being there 100% of the time. It was a mistake for us to try and remove cash, and we're going to start encouraging and moving cash up again. And that's
Wow.
one of the things that has really communicated the value of cash, or all the different disasters that are happening. But one of the things, what we need is we need people to do everything they can, cash and checks, to preserve the analog system. The second thing we need you to do is stop banking at the banks who are pushing this. So if
Mm.
you look at the banks who did the financial crisis, if you look at the banks that essentially own the Federal Reserve, if you look at the big banks who are the cause of a lot of the corruption and there's 21 trillion missing from the US government that went out on the accounts of the big banks. So they're stealing from us. The country is full of great community banks and credit unions.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of great financial leadership. For heaven's sakes, stop banking with the criminals and start banking with the people in your community that are helping you really build enterprise and farms on Main Street. You know,
Yes. And if you are seeing advertisements from a bank, chances are they're in the category of the criminals, I would guess, because their pockets are deep to have all these ads on TV.
a lot of times, although, some of the good guys really do advertise on local radio,
Mm,
or, they're very active. A good community bank or credit union is very active in their community. But
hmm.
for heaven's sakes, get your money out of the bad guys and into the good guys when it comes to bank deposits. Okay. The third thing is the state legislatures are unbelievably powerful and can do a great deal to change this. We have at Solari um, an entire financial freedom website, and we've done a complete briefing on what states can do. So, get a copy of what states can do from Solari and give it to your legislature. We have monthly briefings for state legislators. I'm going to be out in Idaho later this month, and with the Idaho Freedom Caucus, which is a great example of the kind of people who are leading the way on state sovereignty issues. So come to Solari, sign up for our monthly briefing list, and get that complete manual of what the states can do. Now, one of the things the states can do, state legislators can do a lot to protect encourage local businesses to use cash and preserve cash, and they can make sure that the government continues to take cash and interact with people in non-digital ways. There's a wonderful party in Switzerland now that's leading an effort to go canton by canton to get reforms instituted so that citizens have the right to a non-digital life.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
and that's part of keeping the system from going all digital, because that's when you can lock into complete control. The other thing I want you to do is we have at Solari, and you can find it at the Financial Transaction Freedom website, we have a great section called Team Cash on different ways to encourage cash. So one of the things we do, because Halloween is coming up next month, is we encourage, instead of getting your kids candy for Halloween, we have a little thing you can print out that describes why it's so important to preserve cash. You can stick one of those labels on a dollar bill and then give all the kids a dollar. And so instead of poisoning them with sugar, and what I have to tell you is everybody who's done it reports that Cash Halloween is wildly successful. Nobody minds not getting M&Ms if they're getting a dollar bill, and you quickly become the most popular house in the neighborhood.
Yeah, so stock up. So let me just ask you this final question, Catherine. You and I are both in the health space as well. What do you say to the person who's like, what does all this money stuff have to do with health?
Okay, that's an excellent question. So at Solari, we have a collection of video shorts on financial freedom. What I want to understand is all the great work that you have done in health and all the great work you have done in food to preserve food and health freedom. The minute they get financial transaction control, they will delete all of it. They will negate all of it. They will reverse all of it. Financial control and controlling the financial transaction train tracks is the meta control that they will use to control food and health. So I don't care what you're doing in the food and health area. If these guys get 100% digital system with a digital ID and programmable money, guess what? They're going to dictate, you don't get your vaccine this month, they're going to turn off your money. You don't transgender your kid, they're going to turn off your money.
Wow.
They're going to dictate all of your health and food policies to you. So we did a wonderful report in Solari on called Pharma Food on lab grown meat and essentially artificial food. And when I read it, I couldn't understand, how do they think they're going to market this? And that's when I realized, oh, programmable money is how they're going to market. You know, the only thing your food will buy will be lab grown meat. You want meat, you're going to get lab grown meat.
Wow. Well, I always encourage people to be aware and unafraid. So I'm so grateful that you gave us action points so that the future you're describing is not our future. And thank you so much for your hard work in Solari. I look forward to seeing you soon at the Wise Traditions Conference in Utah.
Yes, that's going to be a great one. So you should give out the dates again.
Yes, it's October 17th to the 19th in Salt Lake City. Go to wisetraditions.org to sign up, and you'll see us there. Thanks again, Catherine. It has been a
Thanks, Hilda.
pleasure.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye bye.